everyone, welcome to another Animation Friday. I apologize I had to delay this video up until today. Unfortunately, I was pretty busy over the weekend and this week now has been kind of hectic, but I should be caught up by the end of today. So without further ado, let me address what I wanted to talk about for this particular Animation Friday, and that has to do with storytelling. Now, the interesting thing about storytelling, at least when it comes to animation, is that it's conducted and almost played out in a unique way that is not necessarily akin to live action filmmaking and storytelling. Because when you really look at a lot of animated stories in particular, a lot of them are based within legends, myths, fairy tales, things that were almost kind of, I guess you could say, kind of culturally relevant to people within older time periods. Even some current animated films primarily focus on trying to revive old legends and cultures that oftentimes may have been at least forgotten or not really focused on. So again, this medium has really allowed for these kinds of forms of expression. And when you really look at where animation gets this kind of foundation, you can almost see it with the old cave paintings that the cavemen made thousands and thousands of years ago. You know, it's just unbelievable, the even maybe hundreds of thousands of years ago. But it's really unbelievable the amount of emphasis that is put onto these kinds of forms of expression, especially considering the fact that a lot of the tales are considered were more orally spoken, sometimes written down, but other times even just conveyed through pictures. And if you obviously looking at these paintings, you can sort of see what I mean by this. So I think that's something that's very important to note. I think a lot of the way in which stories are cultivated through animation has a lot to do with history. And those kinds of tales oftentimes involve some sort of legend, mythos, a fairy tale, just something that's kind of sort of out of this world and is not necessarily based within reality or facts as much. Now, what's also important to understand as far as from a storytelling perspective is that with live action, you have to base things within reality. So you kind of have to really ground yourself as far as how exactly things work. Now, obviously, there's tons of movies and examples of live action where they have denied physics and all of these other things, but you know, they still manage to not go into the overboard exaggeration that cartoons are capable of doing, and in doing so convey that aspect of storytelling a lot more effectively. For example, somebody to fall a significant fall from a significant distance, but then still manage to survive with maybe minor injuries or something, you know, or just do something completely out of the ordinary that in live action you would at least have some blood, you would at least have some kind of detriment put onto the person that is in the role, that is having something that's very overblown happen to them. But when you really look at the way in which animation is constructed, you can see that the writers are capable of really playing around with what exactly happens, because again, they're not confined to the constraints of reality. So that's something that I think is also very important to understand, and I think actually allows animation to be quite unique and actually bring a lot of this goofiness that oftentimes you cannot really convey too well within real life and through live action storytelling. Um, Also, what's another important thing to note is that you can create a lot more interesting and um, diverse kinds of movements as far as actions are concerned when you look at uh, what you're having ultimately the characters do within the story. Um, Whereas obviously with live action you are limited in certain respects as to what certain people are capable of doing, and how exactly they can do it, and it just doesn't come off the same way as it would in an animated film. So um, these these actions, I think, are also something that's important to note. It's not just what's happening to the characters, but it's also what the characters are doing as well. And what is also something that really works to the advantage of storytelling within animation is the fact that they can rely a little bit less on the dialogue. The dialogue usually within animated films is not designed to be, I think, as complex or as intricate as live action films are, and uh, cartoons or television shows. The dialogue is primarily used to explain things and for character interactions, and oftentimes singing as well, but it's not the primary focus, as in more so the expressions of the characters' faces, the um, the moments where there really isn't any real uh, explanation going on as to what is exactly happening, but is shown through visual, is actually what also I think enhances animation as a medium, because you're really capable of focusing on getting the exact expression that you want out of a character, and in doing so kind of maybe even describing it in written form, but not having it be ultimately expressed in the form of dialogue, but more so through the faces and um, through their movements and their interactions. And that's really ultimately what I think brings about the full picture as far as animated storytelling is concerned. It is quite fascinating what animation is capable of. And the things that I listed here, I think, are the primary reasons why storytelling is so distinct within this particular medium, and why I think it continues to be a very powerful force within entertainment in general. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this particular subject. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And until next time, everybody, bye-bye.